So I've been using the new iPad Air 2 for probably the past 2 days or so. I've been using an iPad much more than I normally would. In that time, I tend to use an iPad just for general browsing, watching videos online, but I've actually been trying to do some work on it. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to bring you guys my opinions, my thoughts over these 2 days of usage. Probably the only thing I can't report on in the battery life, because I only had to charge the iPad once over these past 2 days, and it only came to me with about 70% of charge, so I'm going to need some more time to assess that. After all, the iPad Air original battery was just fantastic. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. This is the iPad Air 2 after 48 hours. So this week Apple kind of ninjaed everyone and released their new iPad Air 2 in stores. If you missed my slightly alternative unboxing video for this tablet, I'll drop a link down below to that. And also just want to mention again that this iPad was sent over to me by John Lewis, so I do just want to thank them for that. A link to their tablet department with 2-year warranties on all of their tablets will be linked down in the description below. First things first though, let's talk about how thin this tablet is. The iPad Air 2 comes in an insane 6.1mm thick. Strangely enough, it actually makes the original iPad Air seems slightly hefty, which is incredible in its own right, considering that just a year ago I remember being mind blown about just how thin that tablet was. Unfortunately, with the iPad Air 2 though, I feel like it just might have crossed the line between too thin and thin. I've actually taken to using this tablet with the Apple Smart Cover flip back, as it makes it just slightly thicker and slightly easier to grip. It's not a huge deal, you've certainly got a big enough surface area to grip, it's not a slippery tablet, but it does just make me feel slightly uneasy. Put it this way, I definitely wouldn't want to bend it. Other than this, the only physical difference is the removal of the lock/mute switch, which is now a total software interface instead found in the control center. Not a major difference, and apart from the thickness and this small change, the iPad design is pretty much untouched from last year. So now let's talk about the display. The iPad Air 2 has incorporated a new anti-glare reflective coating on the glass panel, which claims to reduce reflection or glare by up to 56%. Personally, I didn't see it having that much of a noticeable difference. Inside, I rarely have any glare issues, and the iPad Air display is pretty much unusable outside still in bright sunlight, but that's, to be honest, what you'd sort of expect from most consumer electronics devices. A much more interesting change with this new tablet is that Apple have actually now put a laminated display inside the new iPad Air 2. This means that the slightly questionable plasticky feeling, which was actually one of my biggest complaints with the original Air, and that's gone, and it makes viewing and using the iPad a much more enjoyable experience. Think of interacting with the pixels on a fingertip to pixel basis, and this is as close as you're going to get. Not to mention, it makes colours pop a considerable amount more. Personally, I see this as being one of the biggest reasons you want to upgrade. Touch ID is another reason you want to consider upgrading to the new iPad Air 2. This means that you can now unlock your iPad Air using just your thumb, which I've found useful, but not as useful as on my iPhone 6. You can also use it to authorize application purchases, and perhaps most excitingly, in the future at least in the UK, you'll be able to use Apple Pay Touch ID integration to authorize online payments full stop. This isn't here yet though, at least in the UK. As mentioned in my unboxing video a couple of days ago, the iPad Air 2 also has an improved camera. It seems bizarre to me that people will want to use a tablet as a photography focused device, but I guess it's there if you want it. The optics are now very similar to the iPhone 5S, meaning it takes very good photos, especially from a tablet. Overall though, just please don't. The only other noticeable improvement is the new chipset inside the Apple iPad Air. The new tablet comes with a new A8X processor, along with 2GB of RAM. This makes it the first iOS device to have more than 2 cores, and the first iOS device to have 2GB of RAM. This is all good, I guess. However, the only problem I have is that my original iPad Air is already extremely fast. I never once had issues with lagging or crashing or slow web performance. It's never going to be a bad thing that these devices are getting more power, but I would personally argue the necessity to upgrade from the original Air. To be perfectly honest, the iPad Air 2 is a good progression for the Apple iPad line. However, I don't think it's a good upgrade from the original iPad Air. The iPad Air is still a fantastic tablet, and that's actually a great bargain at the £319 mark, or $399 in the US. However, it is no longer the best tablet in the market, because the iPad Air 2 has stolen its crown there. Whether you need to upgrade from the original to the 2, it's your call, but I'm definitely not saying you should. Once again, a big thanks to John Lewis for making this video possible. Let me know your opinions on the new iPad refreshes, and other than that guys, I'm out.